Hey guys, John Brunco here with your second 5 for flooring video. If you remember last week we talked about the 4 different types of accounts that you're going to encounter out in your territories when you're selling. We covered the retail accounts like Carpet One Flooring America. Also the shop at home model like Empire Carpets. There were the commercial accounts like McDade's out in Tucson, Arizona that Dave Woods sold an entire pallet of smell zapper to. Way to go, Dave. Good sale. Also, the distributors. Today what I want to do is get us from 30,000 feet all the way down to ground zero in the flooring industry. So I'm going to talk to you about how goods get to Mrs. Jones' house when she buys a floor from her local retailer. So in this instance, Mrs. Jones has bought a hardwood floor from a local Carpet One that's going to be put on a concrete slab. And there's 2 different ways that stores can go about this. And the first way that they can go about this is that they can actually supply all of the goods that are needed for the installation themselves. So they will provide for the installer all of the adhesive. They'll make sure that the installer has the correct trowel. They'll supply the blue tape, any of the caulk that might be needed, any of the accessories that are needed to actually finish the floor out completely. And that's the method that Lancaster preaches. We call this owning the installation, okay? Now the second model, what they do is they're going to contract with an installer to actually put that floor down, and there will be a kind of a bundled price that they've agreed on with the installer per square foot. If I sell a hardwood floor, it's going to cost me this much to have your crew install it, okay? And if that happens, that means that the installer now is responsible for purchasing all of the adhesive and making sure that, everything's good when they leave the job. At the end of this, I'll talk about why I think the first model is better. But really quickly, what I want to do is talk to you about how the goods actually got to Mrs. Jones' house in the first place. In the paint industry, being a distributor means that I only sell to resellers. So Lancaster doesn't move products to any of the end users. We move products to people that sell paint and those accessories. In the flooring industry, it simply means that you're the guy that gets goods to market. I can walk into many flooring distributors and I can buy goods to put my own flooring down, and they'll sell me. They'll sell me at a higher price list, but they'll move the goods to me. Now, the next person that's going to buy from them, of course, is the installer or the mechanics that do this for a living. They rely on these distributors for all of the items that they use. They rely on them for the tools that they use, a lot of those specialty items. The distributors will also sell the retailers. Again, sometimes at a discounted price, but they're selling the items to the retailers so that the retailers can resell them as they sell all of the flooring for the job. And then you have master distributor agreements, and oftentimes distributors in an area will be moving products to other flooring distributors. So you can see how pricing is so messed up when we get out. You'll walk into a store on one end of the block and they are excited to see you because you've saved them $8 a bucket on this flooring adhesive. And you'll walk to the other end of the block and they're laughing at you because they're paying $8 less than the price that you have published. I just want you to understand that that's how the industry works. It gives you a much better idea of why this knowledge that you all gain when you're out on the street is so valuable to Paul and I. There's so many regionalities, there are so many brand preferences that at the end of the day, we're really trying to change the habits of an industry. It's going to take some time, but I think it's worth it. So I had mentioned earlier that I believe that owning the installation is the best method. And I'm going to explain to you why really quickly. See, there's a perception in the industry that if something goes wrong and I have provided all of the items for the installation, then I'm responsible for the failure. And it's true. But there's also a perception that if I don't supply it and the contractor does, that I'm not responsible, and that's false. See, at the end of the day, I've got a storefront. And my business is built on word of mouth. And if something goes wrong with that installation or something happens, Mrs. Jones isn't going to call the installer, she's going to call me. And I'm going to have to fix it and make it better, or I'm going to run the risk of Mrs. Jones telling all of her friends that she got flooring from me and it was a terrible experience. So my thinking is, own the installation for 2 reasons. Number one, you are going to guarantee the quality of the install. If you specify the items, if you understand the adhesive that's being used, if you check the size of the trowel, if you make sure that the floor was prepped correctly, and make sure that your installer used a moisture meter before they put that adhesive down, then if you have a claim, it's going to get honored much more quickly. Okay? The other thing is that it allows you to make a little bit more money. If you can buy the goods at a favorable price, you know the markup. This allows you to suddenly be more competitive in your market because you know the cost, the fixed cost at the end of the day. Okay? Thanks for your time. I look forward to talking to you next week. We're going to be talking about tack strip. See you then. Thanks.